Shalom and welcome to 2 Minutes of Torah. This year is entitled 5 Points Regarding Techelet. We've been learning Techelet for a few weeks now, and I'd like to just give a summary of some 5 basic points which are crucial to understand in order for us to proceed in our research. Number 1, we'll go in order, alphabetical order, but not necessarily chronological or order of importance. Our Rizal. Now, Rizal maintains that Techelet cannot be worn now because it's hidden, like the Medrash says, and it cannot be found until Messianic times, and therefore the search is futile. It's in vain. It cannot be found till Mashiach. Those who follow their Rizal and look at him as a qualitatively different kind of an Achron, then that's going to be a game changer. For poskim like Rav Moshe, where their Rizal is a great Achron, like the Magen Avraham, the Taz, and the Shach, etc., etc., so then that will be taken into account as one of the opinions. I embrace Rav Moshe's approach. I look at their Rizal as a great authority. Mishra quotes him all over the place, but it's not going to be the final decider. And therefore, the Rizal's opinion is important, but it's not going to end the discussion. I will still see so many other Gedolim. In fact, the Rishonim and Shulchan Acharonim don't mention anything like this. So the Rizal is a Chiddush. It's a novel idea, but I don't feel bound by it. Point number 2, Das Torah. There's articles that are in. They had a few weeks, very nice articles on Techelet, but one basic idea they said is, listen, Das Torah, Gedolim, many of them, certainly Gedolim in the Yeshivish world, don't wear it. It's the end of the discussion. There's no research there that's needed because we already have a conclusion from the Das Torah of the Gedolim. So for many, this is what they are bound by. Whatever the Das Torah of Gedolim is, the Gedolim that they consider the Gedolim, that's it. That's the end of the discussion. It's out towards the Medina, towards the army, towards learning, towards Kola, whatever it is. It's not a question of analyzing, understanding, and seeing a tshuva and a response on the topic. Gedolim said it, that's the end of the discussion. Once again, on this point, I respect and I love all Gedolim from all different circles. And yes, I agree that many Gedolim in this area of Techelet say something, namely not to wear. Of Hershel Shechter, of Dov Lior. To me, there's plenty of Gedolim that very much hold by Techelet, and therefore I don't feel bound by the fact that certain Gedolim that people call the Gedolim, to me that is not binding. Point number 3, what about Yachad v'Rabim? You have a majority here that say not to wear Techelet. So halacha of Yachad Rabbim go like the Rabbim. The real time that Rabbim majority is a binding rule is when they're all sitting around in a Beis Din Sanhedrin together. Everyone's in Sanhedrin. You have a great Sanhedrin, and all the great rabbis are there, and there's a psak. Even a great Talmid Chacham goes against it. He could be a Zakin Mamre and killed for it. But when you have rabbis scattered throughout all of Israel, each one giving his position, and many not even giving their position or explaining, just they're not wearing tzitzit, so it's Techelet, so the Mamela, they don't hold by Techelet. Then you don't have other rabbis that are bound by these rabbis. So yes, you'll say, but the Mishnah Berurah very often in his work will go the majority rabbis, maybe, and Avad Yosef goes majority. Yes, you're not bound by the majority like Sanhedrin, but these great poskim are going to say, if there's no clear deciding factor, they'll take the majority. Let's say a person researches a sugya, and he's convinced. Person who's a Ben Torah, who's convinced of a certain way. So he's not bound technically by Yachad Rabbim because it's not Sanhedrin. And the advice, well, let's just go by the majority. That's the natural fallback. He says, what do you mean naturally? I'm convinced the other way. Hershel Shechter is convinced that Techelet should be worn. So he's not bound halachically or practically by the majority. So that's number 3. Now, Rizal, Das Torah, Yachad Rabbim. Number 4, Mesorah. Do you need a Mesorah or not? Rav Soloveitchik, Rav Yosef Dovbe, Rav Aaron, they maintain you do need an oral tradition on this topic. You have to know which is the right animal. That's the chilazon. And if you don't have that, you cannot have Techelet. I say on this point, it's the Gedolim, the Brisker dynasty are saying it, quoting the Rav Chaim on this. So fine, it's a great shita, but I say I would love to see a Masorah that says you need a Masorah. Where in the Gemara does it say you need a Masorah? Chas Hashem, we don't have tefillin for 100 years. The Gedolim stop us. We'll recreate it based on all the halachic literature. So we're going to recreate Techelet as well. So those who always follow the Rav or Aaron, then that's it. You need a Masorah. But those who do not maintain you don't need a Masorah. And I embrace that opinion. You don't need a Masorah. You could recreate it. Finally, the fifth point is Safek D'Oraita L'Chumra. How do you look at Safek D'Oraita L'Chumra? Do you say once you're in a doubt, so then on a biblical mitzvah, do your best, even if you don't know you're getting it right? Or do you say, no, Safek D'Oraita L'Chumra only means that I'll be in doubt, I'll do the mitzvah when I know I'm getting the mitzvah. So I don't know if I benched. I had a huge meal, I don't know if I benched. So when I do the act of bench, I'm doing the nusach, the text according to the rabbis, I'm benching properly. But over here, I'm going to put on the New York's Techelet, and maybe I'm getting it right, maybe not. So we don't say Safek D'Oraita L'Chumra. So Sternbach does say that. Rasha Weiss brings that side down, but says it's much more logical to say that if in a Safek, give it your best shot. Rasha just says it's not. Even a real Safek, there's so many questions on this specific blue, he doesn't consider a real Safek. But if it was a real Safek, then yes, Safek D'Oraita L'Chumra makes sense. And Hershel Schachter certainly embraces that approach. And he says that the rule is Safek D'Oraita L'Chumra, do your best to try to get out of the Safek, even if you're not sure. And obviously, by Techelet, he holds that matches up pretty well. With these five positions, A, the Arizal, that I don't think, in my opinion, we're bound by the Arizal. 2, Das Torah. There's plenty of Gedolim say no, but there's Gedolim that say yes. And I very much embrace those Gedolim and appreciate their view as well. 3, Yachid V'Rabim, there's no formal Sanhedrin, so we're not bound by the Rabbim. 4, Masorah, yes, some say you need a Masorah. And 5, but others maintain not. And 5, Safek D'Oraita L'Chumra, many maintain Safek D'Oraita L'Chumra means that when you're Safek, you should be machmir, even if you don't know for sure you're getting it right. With these 5 points, so to me, the only thing that's left is to see, do we have enough information about the Murex snail to say, not that it fits like a glove, this for sure is the right one, but to say, hey, we have a pretty good Safek here. It looks like it matches up pretty well. And yes, this point is not so clear, and that point is not so clear, but there's a lot of signs from the rabbis, from the Masorah, from the Chazal, and it seems to match. And once you have that, then you say Safek D'Oraita L'Chumra. And when you're a Safek, do your best to get out of it and put on the Techelet. So that's what's left in our research, is to see, do we have enough signs, indications, that the Murex really fits the signs, not perfectly well, but pretty well. Shalom.